Hello, math group. Welcome back to math. We're going to continue with fractions. Yesterday, some of you guys did pretty good, but I had a whole bunch of you saying you had some questions on fractions. So today is going to be a really quick review day on fractions, and we're going to kind of progress up to adding fractions. But first, let's start with the basics. What is a fraction? So a fraction is a part of a whole number. And whole numbers are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a whole piece. So if I have one cookie, I have a whole cookie. If I have two cookies, 3 cookies, 4 and 5 cookies. They're whole pieces. You don't have to split them up or anything like that. A fraction is when you take a piece of that cookie or you break up that cookie to put it into smaller pieces. So if I have one whole cookie here and I want to break it in half, there's a couple things that we can do. A lot of you guys already know that you would write it. Let's say I color in pieces of my cookie here. Like this is the part of the cookie I gave you. And you guys know that's 1/2. Some of you guys were like, well, I know it's 1/2, but I can't remember what it is. So remember, this is called our denominator here. I always remember it because it's a D for down, denominator. And it's how many pieces we cut our whole fraction into. If we were to cut it like this, the denominator would be 3 because we cut it into 3 pieces. If we were to add it right here, it now turns into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. If we add a couple more lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. So it's how many we cut the whole number into. The top number, or the numerator, is how many pieces of the whole we are talking about. So I said I gave you one piece. We're only talking about one piece. That goes to you. Let's go back to my other example where I had 3. If I cut my cookie into 3 pieces, that's our denominator, and I gave you 2, I'm talking only about 2 pieces. I gave you 2 out of the 3. Here, you got 1 out of the 3. So that's a real quick thing on fractions. We're breaking it into a smaller number. We can represent this visually. We can do it with circles. We can do it with squares like this. So this are rectangles. This is my whole. The big, huge outside is my whole. I broke it up. I fractioned it. I fractured it, like I fractioned it into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. So remember, how many pieces you break it up to is the denominator. And how many pieces we're talking about, if I had this fruit strip and I took 3, that's the numerator. We're talking about 3 of the pieces. And so that's how we color it. What if I had, I'm going fast, you can always rewatch it, a strip like this, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 pieces. So we know it's 5 denominator. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 denominator. What if I said I need 4 fifths, or 4 out of the 5? I want. How can you represent that fraction? Well, you would color in 1, 2, 3, 4 until you get 4. That is 4 fifths, or almost all the way of one whole. What about if I were to color this? So I have all the section colored in. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 fifths. Or since I colored the whole thing in, because all the boxes are colored in, we know it's also one whole. So one whole equals 5 fifths. Whenever the number above and below match, that is a whole. This can be lower and this can also be higher. We will soon get to that later. So you are going to have, for part of your work today, you are going to have a sheet where you do just exactly what I did. You're going to tell me what fraction is when you see a colored part, or you're going to write out the fraction, or you're going to get a fraction and you're going to have to fill in the colored part. That's the first part of your homework. Second part of your homework, I'm going to hit pause and get it ready up here for you. All right, welcome back. The next thing I want to talk about is fractions. So whenever you see a fraction, whenever I see that 3/8, I know it's a piece of a whole number. And remember, we broke it up into 8 pieces. And this fraction right here, I almost erased it. We are talking about 3 pieces of the 8. Over here, I have another fraction. In this one, it's broken into 8 pieces, and we're talking about just one of those pieces. Sometimes we're going to have to add fractions. And so when we're adding fractions, there's going to have to be a couple things that we're going to worry about this year. Next year, you'll do it a little bit different, but this year, to add fractions, I'm going to make that so it's easier to see. To add fractions, we have to have what we call a common denominator, or the same denominator, the same basement. That number has to be the same to add fractions. And the really cool part about when we add fractions is we keep our common denominator the same for the first part, the second part, and even the third part. So we're going to have a common denominator all the way across. Easy peasy, pineapple squeezy. The next part is pretty easy as well. Now we're just going to add our numerators, or the top part. These we don't keep the same. Obviously, they're not the same. So this is the part that we actually add. The denominator stays the same. The top part we add. So we are going to add 3 plus 1, and we get 4/8. Same thing down here. I'm adding 2/7 plus 2/7. What do you think the answer would be? Yep, so first you knew that we keep the denominator the same, 7, and then we just have to add our numerators. 2 plus 2 is 4/7. Last one, what do you think it's going to be? Correct, we're going to keep our denominator the same. We're going to have 5 on the bottom. We add our numerators, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we get 5/5. Ooh, some of you guys may have even caught that. 5/5, remember, equals 1. So if we were to add these two fractions together, it would make one complete whole number. So you are going to be adding some fractions today. This is the second half of your work. You'll finish those, and we will move on to more fraction stuff tomorrow. See you then. Bye.